Huge shout out to Roy Tuscany and the High Fives Foundation. I'm wearing his shirt today. Roy, I absolutely love you. It's great to talk to you the other day. I was just thinking about the Adams Mark Hotel the other day. This is a hotel that you won't know unless you lived in Memphis, Tennessee. And Memphis, Tennessee is where I started my career. And every day when I got into the professional beauty industry, all I wanted was education. I didn't care what it cost me. I didn't care how far I had to go. I just wanted the most education possible. Well, every class that I could imagine, I was working at Gould's in Memphis, Tennessee, and every class that came up, I was just signing up for it. And I remember this one. It was $50, and it was at the Adams Mark Hotel. It was a guy named Win Claybaugh. And, it wasn't even hair. It wasn't even, teaching you how to do hair, anything like that. I just wanted the education. So I go and there's about 30 to 45 people in the room, which at the time I thought was, so many. And we sat there and he was talking and he introduced himself. He was the spokesperson for John Paul Mitchell Systems. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. He's a spokesman for somebody. And I remember, something sparking inside me. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what it was until way later in my career, but something connected. And as he spoke with passion. He talked to us, and literally, like, he did a presentation on flip charts for 45 minutes or an hour. And this had nothing to do with the technical side of hairdressing, but it just lit me on fire. And then I remember him saying, everybody keeps asking, when is my ship going to come in? And he said, the question you should all be asking yourselves is, when is the last ship that you sent out lately? And I was like, wow. I mean, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I remember at that time I was, taking voracious notes as I was writing. And I took the corner of a piece of paper, probably 1/4 of it. I wrote my name. I put Kelly Cardenas and I folded it up really, really tiny, almost, maybe a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. And I put the square in my pocket. And when the talk got done, all 45 people rushed and got in line to be able to take a picture and shake this guy's hand. And I remember I was at the very last of the line and I waited all the way until everybody said hello and took pictures and did all these things. And as I walked up to him, I reached out and I said, hello, Win, my name is Kelly Cardenas. I absolutely love what you talked about. And he said, thank you so much. And I said, you said during your class that everyone asks when their ship is going to come in, but the question you should be asking is, what ship have you sent out lately? And I said, I reached in my pocket and I handed him the little square. And I said, this is a ship that I'm sending out today, because someday when we work together, we'll have a story to tell. He looked at me almost the way that you would at a 6-year-old that wanted to fight you and was like, oh, that's kind of cute, shook my hand, and we moved on. Little did I know that ship would change the trajectory of not only my career, but my life, and expose me to things that I could never even imagine. As I sat down with Proverbs 13, it encourages us to send out the greatest ship of all by seeking, listening, and applying wisdom. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
For those of you who knew me early in my career, I started in the professional beauty industry. And when I say that, I started as a hairdresser. But even further before that, I started because my dad bought dog clippers and thought that he would save money by shaving the dog. So he gave them to me and my brothers and said, shave the dog. We had a Cocker Spaniel. We didn't chain the dog up. It ran away. And we tried it one time and then we put the clippers away. I needed a haircut probably 2 years later. And it was either my mom give me a haircut. We couldn't afford to go to any place because we didn't have any money. So it was either have my mom cut it in the kitchen or have my brother cut it. And my brother was cool. So my brother, Rob, thank you so much, went in and started cutting my hair. I don't know what he was doing, but I couldn't see it. My oldest brother, Guy, is standing behind him laughing at me getting a haircut, so I'm not feeling too confident. The brother that was cutting became an attorney. The one that was laughing became a doctor, and I actually became a hairdresser. And it was incredible because it taught me so many different skills. Like, I had no idea that it was going to prepare me for the podcast world. The podcast world is asking people questions, listening, and sometimes speaking. And so in this space, I had a career where I would literally sit down with women and have a conversation. And most of the time it was me asking questions, drawing things out of them. And so when I went into this space, it was very easy or simple to ask questions and actually listen because I was working in that arena for almost 30 years. So it set up so many different areas. So I had a conversation with my brother the other day, and Rob, thank you so much for the kick in the pants, kick in the head, kick in the teeth. I'm not saying my brother abuses me, but we have talks, and he just shoots straight with me. I was telling him about an engagement that I wanted to do, a company that I wanted to work for, and that I wanted them to hire me back for a keynote that I was doing because, or that I did one last year for them, and I wanted to do the same event this year. And I asked him, I said, do you think I should wait on them calling me or should I call them? And he was like, does a fisherman drop line in the water? And he said, if you go fishing, you drop lines in the water, right? So what are you doing? It's just your ego. It's just your ego telling you that you should wait. Why not reach out to them? And it was incredible because it went right back to what Win Claybaugh taught me, that everyone's waiting for their ship to come in, but how many ships have you sent out lately? How many times have you had the inkling, the thought in your head, like literally, most of the time to become top of mind, which we all want to be in, or TOMO, right? In advertisement. Every time when we do that, it's just about the person a lot of times that has reached out to us last. And if you want to have top of mind advertisement, or TOMA, is just making sure that a person hears your voice, and that sometimes you kill your ego and put yourself out there. Now, at the Adams Mark Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, I was a young kid. I was 19 years old. Here's the spokesperson for John Paul Mitchell Systems. At the time, it was in the multi millions. Today, it's in the billions. But I remember writing that piece of paper, and in my head, I was thinking, like, this is real. Someday we're going to stand on stage. Someday we're going to work together, and we'll have a story to be able to tell. Probably in his mind, he was like, I get this all the time, kid, and most people won't follow through on it. And so as I was reading Proverbs 13 today, it really encouraged us to send out the ship, but to send it out in a different arena. For me, it was, writing it down on a piece of paper, or sometimes for you, it could be a call, it could be an email, it could be a text, any of those things. Those things can literally change your life. The helping hand that you're looking for most of the time is at the end of your own sleeve. And learning this over time has been tremendous. It's been tough, though, because sometimes people will respond and tell you that they don't want you. That's okay, because you already didn't have the job in the first place. And so that's a thing that I want to encourage you with today. So as we go through with Proverbs 13, I want to bring this up because when we're seeking wisdom, we're listening to it, and then we're applying it in our life. Now, there's 3 areas of it. First is seeking it. Right? And we got to be deliberate with that. Whatever we seek, we'll find. Whatever we focus on, we'll see. Whatever you listen for, you'll hear, right? And this goes for not only things in our lives, but think about it like in business, think about it with social media. One of my friends was telling me that he was having a little bit of a challenge. And I said, well, what was the challenge? He said, there's two things. One, interest rates are a little bit high. So, borrowing money right now to be able to build my business is tough. Now, that's one of the things that's just one of those things. The interest rates go high, go low, whatever it is. The second one was interesting. Actually, it was the first one that he said, and that was the second. But, for the story right now that I'm telling you, I told you the second one first. But the first one that he said was the client count is down, and that, therefore the top end revenue is down also. So as we were looking at it, if we start to seek, we start to look, or we start to focus on, okay, why is that happening, right? Well, there's two things that can happen. One, that we can go after all the new guests, but number two, we could look at and say, okay, why are the existing guests not out there evangelizing the gospel of my brand? And so when we start to look internal and we start to look at that, that can really change the trajectory. Also, now we can start to look at the outreach too, but sometimes people get so weighted and they say, oh, I'm just going to go after new clients. Oh, okay. Then then the existing client doesn't feel great. Or I'm just going to solidify just the guests that I have and not go after new ones. But what you want to do is you want to be able to work on both. You want to shore up the people that are in the place and that they understand the gospel of what it is that you're doing. Those things that you're wanting to do in the community, every one of your guests should be able to say, this business is doing X, Y, and Z. That's why. That's the reason why I use them, and you should too. And so you have top of mind. I had a friend reach out the other day, and we have a product. It's called Bling, and it's outsold anything in all of our salons for years and years and years, 8-1. It's unbelievable. One of my friends reached out to me because his wife started using Bling, and he said, hey, man, I think about you every time that I wake up and go into the bathroom now. And he showed me a picture of Bling. Top of mind advertising. How can you put yourself in front of that person all the time, right? And so not only with our existing guests, but also with the guest that has never seen you before. And so whatever we're seeking, we'll find, but we got to make sure that when we start to seek it and it starts to come in, that we actually listen to it. And then here's the holy grail, is just to apply it. And how can we apply wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge? Well, that if we take and we want wisdom, right? So if we're seeking it, the beginning of all wisdom comes from the fear of God, which is the respect of God. That will bring us wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. That knowledge will bring us understanding. Understanding will bring us insight. Insight will bring discernment. Discernment will bring discretion, or it'll bring discretion, and then discretion will bring discernment. Discernment will bring discipline, and discipline will bring strength. Right? So let me hit them again. Once we fear God, it'll be the beginning of wisdom. The beginning of wisdom is the right use of knowledge. Once we have wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge, we can bring in knowledge. And then once we bring in knowledge, it'll bring understanding. That'll bring insight. That'll bring discernment. It'll bring discretion, then discernment, and then discipline, and then strength. And that strength will lead us right back to the fear or respect of God. So when we are seeking wisdom, and we're listening to it, then we apply it, it's unbelievable what can happen. And that is the ship that we want to send out all of the time. So in verse 1, listening and applying makes you attractive. When you listen to it, you apply it. Those two together will always make you attractive to people wanting to give you more. And this is the thing, like when I went up to win clay ball, and I said to him, hey, here's a ship that I'm sending out. He ended up seeing me at other hair shows too. He ended up seeing me at other conventions. So I was applying the things that he was telling me. I was listening to him, then applying them. And I tell you, if you just apply what you listen to, you'll put yourself in the top 5% of any group possible, because most people aren't willing to do the things or apply the things that they heard. I asked a woman the other day about YouTube. She had 12.6 million followers, over 3.6 billion views. She's got a TV station. And I said, are there 3 things that you could break it down to that would make a channel or make somebody successful on YouTube? She said, yeah, I could tell you, but most people wouldn't listen. And even fewer would apply it once they listened. In verse 2 through 3, thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become outcomes that turn back into thoughts. scrub back a little bit and just listen to that and listen to it slow. In verse 4, desires align, wants distract. Desires come from God. They're in line with what you were purposed to do. Wants will distract you from those purposes, and from the things that you were meant to be doing. Okay. In verse 5 is do the right thing. That's a pretty simple one. I always give a shout out to my buddy Gary Spellman, unbelievable human. In verse 6 through 21, or 6 and 21, whatever you serve will deliver. This one hit me pretty hard when I was reading it, because it was tough, because I just always think of the delivery. I always think of the product that I'm getting. But then I think every time that I get something delivered, it's because of what I've served. So whatever you serve will deliver. If you serve wisdom, imagine what will be delivered. If you serve silliness, imagine what will be delivered. In verse 7 and 8, humility will be a choice until it isn't. One of my friends just said, become humble by choice, or it'll come for you. And I don't know about you, but I've been humbled in my life too many damn times. So in verse 9, doing right always shines brightly at the right time. In verse 10, strife and pride hang out together. In verse 11, right little steps lead to exponential gain. In verse 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, which means that it is very important in this particular proverb, especially when we're sending out ships. Quick to listen, slow to speak, with immediate action as long as you are seeking wisdom. Quick to listen, slow to speak, with immediate action as long as you are seeking wisdom. There's times where I added immediate action where I wasn't seeking wisdom in the first place. So I was quick to listen, I was slow to speak, and I added action to it, but I wasn't seeking wisdom to start off. So my action was for nothing, or it got me in trouble. Be conscious, seek wisdom. In verse 17, being trustworthy brings healing in every aspect. In verse 20, wisdom and silliness are like oil and water. They will never mix. In verse 22, honor your family. This is a thing that I heard from my pops all the time, and my mama all the time, and my brother, and my other brother, and my friends, and my wife, and my kids. I was walking with my daughter the other day through the grocery store, and she was like, "Yo, Dad, have you bought Mom flowers?" And I was like, "Man, that's a little judgy, right?" And she just looked at me. She's like, "Those are the ones you should buy." See, as a daughter, she wanted to see an example of her dad treating her mom the way that she wants to be treated in her life. Got to be conscious of those things. Honor your family. In verse 24, inviting discipline will bring unfair advantages. Inviting discipline into your life will bring unfair advantages. In verse 23, doing right creates contentment, and doing wrong creates hunger. Imagine if you just sent those ships out. You listen to those things, right? Go back and track back in the episode. Or if not, you could check on our Substack. We'll have the handwritten notes there. It'll come out, in a handwritten newsletter. And look at those notes. We've got a journal that's going to be coming out that you can go through the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. You can walk yourself through it. You can journal and find out what hit your heart. What did it make you think about? And what action can you take? That's coming. It's on the way. It's being designed right now. The folded up piece of paper with my name on it was a ship sent out in 1994 that I experienced no result until the early 2000s. It was almost 6 years in between. Although when that ship came in to port, it brought with it relationships and opportunities that blew my mind. The man at the Adams Mark Hotel went on to co-create the Paul Mitchell school system that revolutionized the professional beauty industry. And when we work together, we have a story to tell. So today I ask you, what ship have you sent out lately? I've got a chance to be able to travel the world, speak to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people throughout my career. And I can base it all and I could track it all back to a little piece of paper that I wrote my name on and I handed to a man named Mr. Win Claybaugh. I've got to open for him. I've got to close for him. He's brought me in to speak in front of 2,000, 3,000 people at a time. But that ship only came in because it was sent out. And it was the simplest thing, the very simplest thing. So I encourage you today, when you're in the presence of greatness like a Mr. Win Claybaugh, and you hear wisdom come out of their mouth, which you will if you get a chance to be able to see him. Now he doesn't speak in front of 30 or 45 people. People would die to be able to be in the audience if that was the case. This guy speaks in front of tens of thousands of people at a time. He has changed the professional beauty industry as we know it. But in that audience of 45, at the Adams Mark Hotel, he said, everybody's waiting for their ship to come in, but how many ships have you sent out lately? And that day at 19 years old, I had no idea the implication of the seed that I was going to plant or the little ship that I was going to send out. But I want to thank you, Mr. Win Claybaugh. I want to thank you for not only changing my life, but changing the lives of thousands and thousands of people that we were able to touch through our company, the thousands and thousands of people that, hundreds of thousands of people that I got to speak to throughout my career. And now, as I go into the keynote speaking space, that the opportunities that you provided at a very, very young age, sometimes speaking 45 and 37, 45 times a year on the road, would prepare me for what I'm doing today. It's the little ships that you'll send out today that will impact your future. And so I want to encourage you today, send a ship out, make the call, send a text, do the email, send a video call, call somebody, do whatever it is. But like my brother said, if you're a fisherman, you better be dropping lines in the water. Send your ship out today. My name is Kelly Cardenas. I appreciate you tuning in more than you'll ever know. Check out our Substack. It's the only in the industry that we know of, the only handwritten newsletter in the whole industry. It won't be for long because people will catch on to this. But we also got the Vibe Experience. If you want to read it, check out Substack. You want to listen to it, check it out. The podcast, you're listening to it right now. You want to experience it, come to the Vibe Experience, which is April 12th. It is unbelievable to be in the room. I can't wait to see you. Tim Semmelroth, thank you so much. I know that you just signed up, and we've got a group of people. Kayla, you're coming to the Vibe Room, or the Vibe Experience, and, Stacy, you're coming also. And I'm just, my hat's off, and I'm so, so appreciative of all your support. Have a wonderful day. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause